Okay, so I've already got the Jeep up on jack stands, supporting the axle. This was directly after I did the ball joints anyway, so I've already disconnected the lower control arm on the adjustable side. I've already loosened the two 3/16 Allen screws, bolts, that clamp the flex end to the tube to hold it in place, and removed it, and I screwed it in a half an inch, not half a turn, half an inch, because what I have is a good bit of right in there. Kind of can see it, but I've got rubbing on the track bar, heavy duty track bar bracket brace on the springs. So, and you can tell that the spring is a little bit bowed. So I'm pulling the axle back to take care of the bow, get it away from the components so it's not rubbing on everything again. I've already turned in the upper control arm a half an inch, but that the lower control arm is what adjusts your wheelbase. The upper control arm is what adjusts your drive shaft pinion angle. So what I may do is I may turn the control arms in another 1/4 of an inch. I've got to do it on both sides so that they're even, and then adjust the pinion angle as needed, and we should be good to go. Get rid of that bow, get rid of the grinding. Then I got to do the same thing in the back as well, because my test I did out in Moab and in Colorado uncovered some obvious scraping and bending and tweaking and pinging and popping and all the other noises that I can possibly think of and that I heard. So on to the next step. Alright, as you can see, I haven't disconnected this side, but the upper control arm is 18 millimeter, and you can disconnect it with the axle being supported, not a problem. So the lower control arm is 21 millimeter. It's relatively easy to get to, so all good. The upper control arm non-adjustable side is very difficult to get to, as it's against, on my year 2009, it is against the exhaust pipe, so you've got some finagling to do to get it disconnected and reconnected. Thankfully I don't have to do that. I only have to disconnect right there and right back here, and then I can adjust as needed. So there you have it. And as you can see, my tie rod is completely taken off because I was replacing the ends of it. So I've got new ends on the tie rod on both ends, and I found out that the drag link end is a 7/8 inside with a 7/8 shank, which means that it is different from the tie rod, which is a 7/8 shank and a 3/4 inch inside hole. So I have a spare, and I put the other one on order, so all good. Anyway, time to get to work. Pretty simple. No need for you to watch me do it, so I'm not going to video that, but that's how you adjust Iron Rock off-road adjustable upper and lower control arms. 18 millimeter on the top, 21 millimeter on the bottom. Disconnect, adjust as needed, and reconnect. Should be pretty simple. I'll be back later if it's not. Peace out. Okay, like I said, it's a 21 millimeter. Take off the lower control arm. So, and it's right now the Jeep is just supported by jack stands underneath the axle. Piece of cake. That's off, and it's seriously just slides right out, and the control arm is loose. It should just pop right now. Of course, nothing's ever that easy. So, yeah, it's loose. I've already loosened up the 3/16 bolts. And all I need to do is, I think I pounded this in because I had to pry it out when I first initially installed them. So, I just need to get a little pry bar, pop that down, and it should come right out. Handy dandy pry bar. Stick it up in there. Don't screw up the, try not to screw up the zert fitting for greasing it. Try not to block the camera while I attempt to do this. And there you have it. Oh, and then you just turn it in to whatever, turn it in or out to whatever setting that you deem appropriate to stop from having your springs look like that. And all should be good. Again, and this is just with the, you could probably do it with the Jeep on the ground with the tires on, but it's a lot easier to get to with the tires off. So there you have it. Okay, I'm back. No problems, just a helpful hint and a tip. What I did was I used a little bitty ratchet strap, attached it to the frame, and attached it to the front axle, and I was able to pull in either direction because I used it on the front as well to pull the axle back, and then put it back on the back to pull the axle back, or pull the axle forward in the front and back in the on this position here, so that I could get the bolt lined back up with the hole in the control arm flex end. So just a helpful hint, no problems yet, just a little tip for trying to move the axle instead of using a pry bar and muscle and all this other stuff, because I don't have any help. So it's just me and a ratchet strap doing this. Yut. Alright, have fun, catch you later. Alright, so of course I ran into a little bit of trouble, as to be expected when doing Jeep shit. I had to lower the axle down onto the jack stand a little bit lower and support the frame so I could droop the axle in order to be able to pivot the axle for the upper control arm adjustment, which adjusts the pinion angle. So, not a big deal. Big crowbar, drop it down, spun it, you know, all good. So, yeah, I probably could have videoed that and you guys would have had a fun time laughing your ass off at me freaking looking like an octopus trying to do the freaking crowbar and reaching around the coil spring to pull the control arm up and get the bolt in and all the rest of the crap I had to do. So anyway, easy-ish, easy enough, and the fronts are adjusted and they look a lot better than they did. So all good. Catch you later. There's the passenger side spring, which is much straighter now that I've adjusted them back to where they need to be. And the other side is very good as well. Not so bad. Pinion angle's good. Probably be just about perfect once I get the Jeep back to normal ride height. So there you have it. Fun stuff. Okay, so the rear, you can see right there where it was rubbing, and right there where it was rubbing on the spring, and the damage to the track bar, pretty significant. So that's why I need to adjust these. So I'll spray that, it'll be fine. But it's even got the wedges. So, I mean, it's just too far back. Shit happens. So that is what I'm doing now. I got plenty of pull it forward movement. So no worries. All good. The other side, the problem is nothing to do with the positioning of the control arms. It's more, that's where it's hitting the track bar. But what's hitting the track bar is this bolt on the muffler, on the exhaust pipe, because of my custom exhaust in the back that come out to the corners, and where the guy, and that's actually, that clamp and bolt are welded onto the pipe. It's not like you can just spin it. It's got a tack weld in the center and it's welded on the outside, so I may just cut it off, put another clamp on there and be done with it, and that would take care of that issue that I had. So otherwise there was no real rubbing on this side. It was all on that side on the track bar as it's up and down. So it is what it is. That's why we're adjusting. Past brakes. Track bar bracket brace snapped on a Moab trip one time. So too cool. Alright, I'll be back later. Okay, so got it all buttoned back up. Got plenty of space here now between the spring and the track bar, and I believe that this is not going to hit anymore since we've moved it forward. We've got no spring bow. We've also still got a good pinion angle, so we're all good. Everything's buttoned back up tight, so didn't take too long. The back was a lot easier than the front was, so all good. Another modification that I did, which there's a video out there on that, is where I moved my evap canister to above the rear axle so that it wouldn't be damaged from where it was over there getting hit by rocks. So all good. All right, so that's Iron Rock Off-Road's adjustable control arms. Adjusted. Later.